lift your name on high. Come on, I lift your name. Sing it again, say, I lift your name on high. Yes, I come to lift your name. Yes, I come to lift your name. Say, I lift your name. Come on, clap, clap, come on. Come on, even those of you at home, I dare you to put in the comments that you lift his name higher. Come on, say, I lift his name high. Even in the comments, come on. Everybody in the room, say, help me lift him up. Say, help me lift him up. Did you come to lift up Jesus? Higher and higher. Hey, hey, help me lift him up. Say, help me lift him up. His name is worthy to be lifted. Higher and higher. Hey, hey, help me. Said I came to lift up Jesus tonight. Hey, say help me lift him up. Come on, higher and higher. Let's go again. Hey, hey, help me. I came to lift up the name of Jesus. He said if I be lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Hey, say help me lift him up. Come on, clap your hands, everybody, come on. That's it, give God praise in the house. From the back to the front, come on, open your mouth and give God praise in the house, come on. Come on, at home, help me sing it one more time. And everybody in the room, come on. Say, help me lift him up. Help me lift him up. He's done so much for me, I got to lift him. Higher and higher. Hey, hey, help me. I gotta lift him. Help me lift him up. Come on. Higher and higher. Hey, hey, help me. Yeah. I got to lift up the name of Jesus. Lift him higher and higher. Hey, help me lift him up. Now come on, open your mouth in the house and give God praise if you came to lift up the name of Jesus. Come on, everybody, praise the Lord as we tune in right now to Temple News.
Hey family, check out what's happening this week in Temple News. Wednesday, March 24th at 6 p.m. Join us for a very special interactive life enrichment segment we call A Sit Down with the Pastor, with very special guests Dr. Larry Ruffin and Dr. Jevon. Calling all couples. Join us March 29th at the Belief Center for a couples paint night. Dinner is included, and we will have special guest paint instructor Paula Finley from Atlanta, Georgia.
Here at Greater New Bethlehem Temple, we want to extend to you and your family a special invitation to our Easter Kids Fun Day. This will all take place at the Glen Ellen Park, right here at the church, on April the 3rd from 12 noon until 2 p.m. We're going to barbecue. We're going to have an Easter egg hunt. We're going to have some fun and play some games. We can't wait to enjoy you and your family on this very special day.
Here comes Peter Cottontail.
This Resurrection Sunday will be an all-white Sunday. We look forward to seeing you and your entire family April 4th during our noonday worship experience. Do you miss that hand-clapping, foot-stumping, tongue-talking Pentecostal old-school church? We invite you to join us for 7 miraculous Sunday nights, April the 11th through May the 23rd, right here at Greater New Bethlehem Temple. Testimony service will be going on each night. There will be old school songs of the Lord. Bring your tambourine, bring your washboard, and join us as we expect to see miracles, signs, and wonders, just as we did back in the old school church. Service begins at 6 p.m. nightly, and we look forward to seeing you there.
Touch somebody on your row and tell them that's the way church used to be.
What's up, everybody? I'm James Finley.
Hey, and I'm Corey Moore.
And listen, we have a jam-packed weekend ready for you. It's going to be absolutely incredible. If you're interested in sound, if you're interested in media, if you're interested in stage lighting, whatever media things that you may be interested in, this weekend is just for you.
Yes, it is just for them. Listen, there's going to be 2 wonderful jam-packed days, April the 23rd, April the 24th. There's going to be a jam-packed seminar where we're going to talk about how sound works, how lighting works, how to actually have your team be well gelled, and how to train them to be better, not just within churches, but within your organization as well. So if you're thinking about increasing media-wise and you're talking about promoting your business, whatever you want to do, this seminar, you do not want to miss it. We actually have a special guest that's going to be here too as well. Man, listen, we have Leonard Giles. He's going to be in the building, y'all. Listen, this guy is actually the event coordinator. He handles all the stuff for the Oklahoma City Thunder right here in Oklahoma City. So all the games that you see, this guy is the guy that's doing all the work behind the scenes. So you don't want to miss this special 2-day jam-pack event that's going to be just overwhelming with information. And we want you to be a part of this. Tell them how to get the tickets, James.
So listen, right here at the bottom of your screen, click this website right here, and you can get your tickets, get all the tickets that you want. And we'll see you right here at Greater New Bethlehem Temple, 2209 North Everest Avenue. But here, listen, we've got a special treat.
We got something special.
If you go to the website right now and get your tickets, we have a special promo code that's coming in 3, 2, 1.
Come on, get it.
2 seconds to get it.
Come on, grab it.
2, 1. All right, good. So listen, we want to see you April 23rd and April 24th right here at GMBT. Again, it's going to be a great weekend. And I'm James Finley.
And I'm Corey Moore.
And you don't want to miss this. And we'll holler at you. Oh, okay, we got him. Vision partner. They probably need this. Let's check them. Oh, wait. Yep. Oh, hello. No, ain't nobody in there. Okay, look out. Anybody here? Oh, anybody? No, in there. Oh, okay. Right. About 16 pastors around here look like. Okay, good. All right. Hello, anybody in here? Now look at that. Got the praise and worship coming in on TV. Look at them. All right, good. Hello? Anybody around here? Hello?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How you?
Good, how may I help you?
Yeah, listen, I was outside just browsing. Saw this, I checked it for my and in there. But
okay.
I didn't know if y'all needed this envelope in here or not.
Thank you so much.
Now hold on, baby, come back.
Okay.
Now listen, help me understand. Vision partner, help me understand that. Now is that where you get somebody and y'all go in half on a pair of glasses?
No, sir, it's not. It's actually about our R3 mission that you can see here.
R3?
Yes, sir.
What anybody need with 3 R's?
Yes, sir. It's actually a recapture, revitalize, and recast.
Recapture. Okay, like you take another picture of it.
No, sir, it's not. Would you like me to show you what I'm talking about?
Show.
Yes, sir. Okay, so if you can follow me right outside.
All right.
Okay. Okay.
And what we got going on out here?
Over here is going to be a parking lot that we're going to add to the church.
Oh, so y'all don't need this one no more?
Well, yeah, we're going to extend it out for our future members and future visitors.
Oh, okay. Y'all got that many members coming.
Yes, sir.
Look
Our
at
church is
God.
continually growing.
Look at that.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. And
Still walking. Okay, where we going?
Yes, sir. If you can look right over here, it's going to be a belief center. We're going to use that property for a belief center.
Belief center. Now what you believing in?
Well, it's actually going to be like a community center where basketball and other activities can be done in that center.
Oh, okay. So everything can happen over there?
Yes, sir.
Including naps?
Naps?
I can take a nap over there?
Sure, if you would like to take a nap, I'm sure you can.
Okay, good. I'm just messing with you, baby. I stay home for now.
Okay.
All right, good.
Okay. All right, and if you can follow me back inside.
Follow you back inside?
Yes, sir.
So we came outside to go back in?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that don't make no sense, but all right, we can go.
Okay, all right. Okay, and if you can follow me after I let you in first.
Oh, well,
Follow me.
look at you. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So respectfully. Good.
Yes, sir. And if you can follow me right upstairs.
Right on those stairs?
Yes, sir.
Oh, now hold on, baby.
Okay.
I'm not going up no stairs now. That's a lot of stairs.
Okay.
Now, I got a flat level house for a reason.
Okay.
So what I need you to do now
Right.
is recapture your thoughts. Take your camera up there and capture whatever it is you want to show me and revitalize all that way down there and recast it to me in a different way because I ain't going all over the stairs.
Okay. Well, it's totally fine. I actually could just show you right here on the envelope.
It's on here.
If you can look right here.
Hold on, baby.
Okay.
My lens fell out my glasses. Let me
Oh.
get it real quick.
Okay.
All right, what you want me to see?
So right here at the top in this top picture, this is actually what we're trying to upgrade is our sound and media.
That's a
at the
soundboard.
Yes, sir. It's a soundboard.
Oh, I thought that was the race cars. Okay, because the little colorful lines on it, the car.
Right.
Real fast.
Yes.
Okay. I thought-
Okay. Sorry that you took that from that picture, but yes, it's actually a soundboard.
Now, if one was to be a vision, how am I doing that?
Okay, as you can see on the envelope, you can see where it says methods of giving. You can do Cash App, PayPal, Giveify, cash or check. You do cash or check here in the sanctuary.
Now you said Cash App.
Yes, sir.
Now what is a Cash App?
It's electronic giving.
Oh, baby, I don't do none of that stuff. Now how much we talking about doing?
$1,000.
Oh.
Sir, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Oh, now we got to bring all that Sunday.
No, sir. You
Oh,
don't.
good. Okay, great.
Oh, okay.
So how can I go about bringing it?
You can give it over the course of time, and then you'll be honored at our Vision Celebration in July.
So I got till July.
Yes, sir. You'll be recognized in our Vision Celebration in July.
Look at that. Okay, good. Now listen. You know what? I just had an epiphany. I think I'm gonna bring it Sunday.
Okay.
Because see, now I use all my Social Security.
Okay.
But my daughter just got her stimulus check.
Okay.
And I got the bank card. So
Okay.
we're gonna bring it on Sunday. Okay. So that's what I'll do. All right. So okay. So what's your name again?
My name is Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Family.
All right.
It's nice
Filbert
to
Wilson.
meet you,
Good.
Mr. Filbert.
All right. Well, all right. I'll see y'all Sunday.
All right. You have a great day, sir. Thank you.
Remember your 10 invites and join us each week in the temple for noonday worship right here at Greater New Bethlehem Temple. We also invite you to be with us Wednesdays at noon for Noonday Nutrition with Pastor Brian C. Prince. And don't forget to join us each Wednesday night for Life Enrichment. Dinner's at 5 and service starts promptly at 6 p.m. This concludes your edition of Temple News. Grace and peace. Be blessed.
Well, good evening, everybody. So good to see you all. Come on, can you just put your hands together? Let's just feel this atmosphere with some gratitude. Just let somebody know it's good to see you tonight. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I hope I'm coming through. I'm not hearing like I'm coming through there, but I guess there we go. And so again, as we are attempting just to keep our worship relevant as well as progressive, that as people of God, there's no way that we can ignore what's going on in the world. What do you say about that? No way in the world we can. And so as one of the physicians that I even interviewed during this time was saying that the church is the perfect platform because it is a coming together of all types of people, all walks of life. And so it's a good place to get a good message out. And that's what we're trying to do tonight. Without abandoning our worship, without abandoning what it is that we really come here for. But tonight, we are really blessed to have not just you and not just the people who are joining us online. And help me, those of you who are here in the temple, would you help me celebrate those who are online? Come on, one more time. Those who are tuning in online, thank you so much. And as I always say, we want you to know, those of you who are at home, at work, on your commute, that you're being celebrated here in the temple, just for tuning in with us. And so we thank you. We thank you for that. But we're being joined today by two great young men right from our own community, right from our own high schools and things like that. But they're going to help us connect with what is going on worldwide. All right. It is no secret to anybody that the world is in the midst of a pandemic known as COVID-19, corona by another name, if you would. that has claimed the lives of hundreds of thousands of people over the last about 12 months or so. But now, thanks be to God. I don't know about you, but I'm giving the thanks and the glory to God. There is a vaccine. Come on, can we celebrate God for that? There is a vaccine. And so we are so glad that there is a vaccine. And we called in two men from the medical field to come in and talk to us tonight about the vaccine. Now listen, this is an interactive service, and we do want questions, but I want to kind of take some of the weight and pressure off of my brothers. They have no insight about the disease, meaning why did it come? Where did it come from? Did God tell the medical world anything about it before it came? So, let's do our best to focus on the vaccine, that relief is here. Amen. Relief is here. And so even those of you who are at home, who are tuning in, if you have a question, please just put it down in the comments, and then somebody in this great media department right here will let us know that you have a question, and we'll do our best to let our guest tonight answer it. All right? Listen, without any further ado, let's go in and welcome two great young men up on the screen. We're going to do it in order of age. We're going to do the younger first. Oh, I'm not saying anything. Come on, let's welcome Jevon Oliver. Come on, would you all do that? This is Jevon Oliver. For those of us in-house, this is Jordan Oliver, one of our members. This is his older brother, who is the director of pharmacy. I should have kept to my bio and notes at Massachusetts General in Boston, Massachusetts, who is joining us tonight. He is the director of pharmacy there. Can we show him some love? Good evening, Dr. Oliver. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Pastor. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you. Let's also welcome, if you would, Dr. Larry Ruffin, right here joining us in the temple. I can almost do a little better intro of him. I think I've known him, 25 years. He's a graduate of Langston University, graduate of Oklahoma State University Medical School, and has been practices family medicine in Choctaw, Oklahoma for the last 14 years, and also an alpha man. All right. So come on, let's celebrate Dr. Ruffin being here in the temple with us. Thank you. And so I don't want to take up all the time or monopolize what it is, but I'm going to ask you two gentlemen. You have the community, the African American community, for the most part. Our ears are on to want to know. Some of us have unrest. Some of us have questions that we pondered in our mind as we watch the varying news presentations about COVID-19, and then now about the vaccine itself. I want to ask if the two of you all would take just a couple of moments and empower us. Just tell us what it is you think we need to know when it comes to the COVID-19 vaccine. Take it away. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay, come on, Dr. Oliver.
Thank you, Pastor.
Dr. Ruffin.
Yeah. Pastor, thank you for inviting me here. Thank you all for coming, and everyone online who's listening. It's very important to be informed. We are believers. We know what the Bible says about lack of knowledge, and also the Bible talks about fear, and we don't live in fear. And it's okay to question. It's okay to have doubts. I mean, when you have doubts and questions, you start to ask. You look for answers. And so, with coronavirus and now the vaccine, there's a lot of fear about the virus, where it came from, and I'm glad you said we're not going to get into that because we have no idea. I have no idea. But it is here, and it has been devastating the world, our nation, our state, our communities. And it's something that we had to take serious. We had to trust science and trust our professionals in knowing that this thing is real, and it is causing an epidemic, a pandemic, if you will. And so with the vaccine is giving us the tools to fight back. And that's what the vaccine does. It gives us the ability to curtail this pandemic and start to get a hold of it and start to get back to some sense of normalcy. And that's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, good, good. Come on, Dr. Oliver, chime in there if you would.
Yeah, Pastor, I was going to say I completely agree with what Dr. Ruffin just told the congregation. And I think just from my perspective, the vaccine, I think a lot of folks have apprehensions about vaccines in general. And then when you have one that seemed to be produced really fast, there's just a lot of questions that people have. So I, along with myself, not to speak for Dr. Ruffin, but I'm sure he would agree, I see it as my job to assess the clinical information that is presented to me and be able to convey that to people like my mom, to people back home, just to convey the importance of this vaccine and what it is going to do for our community. And then also just to answer any concerns people have, because I know folks want to know a lot of information and often don't know, should they believe the news? Should they believe what, all these people are telling them? So I see it as our job to go back to our communities to answer these questions with people that, one, look like them, came from the same place. And I'm honored to be here tonight to do my best to explain what the vaccine is, what it causes, answer some questions about coronavirus in general, and to fellowship with you all. So I thank you for having me here this evening.
Good, thank you. So is it safe to assume that both of you all have completed the vaccination?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I'm about 6 weeks in to get
6
my
weeks.
second.
Okay. 6 weeks in, still going strong.
Still going strong.
All right. And when did you get the vaccine, Dr. Oliver?
I believe I got my first dose in early January and then my second dose in mid-February.
Okay. So as we see, both of them have definitely completed the vaccination, and if they were going to grow horns, I'm just assuming it would be already sprouting out 6 weeks in, things of that nature. Now, what we did, unless you all have any poignant, any direct points you want to share, we polled the audience and we've taken a few questions. If you like, we can begin there, unless you have another idea or information you want to share.
I think one thing I do want to kind of share, with everyone is vaccines. We know they're not new. Vaccines have done a lot for fighting diseases for a long time. And we know there is always fear when it comes to something new. That's always, whether a new job, whether it be, just something new that you haven't experienced before. And so the vaccine, the Moderna and the Pfizer, they're different than the vaccines we had before.
Okay.
But the technology is not new. It just being applied to a vaccine. And you can help me out, brother, about that. But just applied to a vaccine is what new. And that's why they were able to do the vaccine, because the technology was tried already and it was proven to be effective. So that's where the fear comes from. It's a new vaccine. It's a new way of doing the vaccine. And you probably heard about the mRNA vaccine, and that's what the Moderna and the Pfizer vaccine is made of. And so the mRNA vaccine, number one of the big myths is that it can change your DNA, and it cannot change your DNA. And that's one of the big fears. I mean, I would be afraid as well. Like you mentioned about growing a horn or something like that. It can't do that. Your DNA is pretty protected, and that vaccine cannot go into the DNA and cause changes. It's just creating some proteins that your body uses to recognize as foreign and create antibodies against.
Okay, I think that is interesting that I hadn't heard before. So what is new about Moderna and Pfizer? You said it's a new way of doing the vaccine. What is it that's new that they're doing, that you're referencing, mRNA?
Yeah, so most vaccines is going to be a killed virus or inactivated virus or some kind of change in the virus to where your body will recognize the virus or the virus particles and develop antibodies against it. Okay. And that's how vaccines work. You give the person some particles, your body recognizes as foreign and create antibodies against it. And these antibodies, their job is to basically just scan the body at all times and looking for that particle again. Okay. And once it sees it, the response is so overwhelming that you don't get the infection. Okay. Now, that's the original way. So think about your MMR and flu virus, things like that. The mRNA is a little different, where what this vaccine does is help your body create some proteins. These proteins are found on the virus. So it's called spike proteins. And on the virus, these proteins are covering the virus. So your body recognizes these proteins as being a foreign object, and they develop antibodies against it. And so when you do see the virus, your body's already ready to see it. Okay. And so that's the difference between the two. And now the Johnson & Johnson is a little bit different. It's more traditional, where it gives your body a kind of an altered virus that your body recognizes.
Okay. Okay, good. That was insight that I know I didn't have before. Dr. Oliver, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, Pastor, if I made a phenomenal job explaining the differences between the vaccines that we currently have in place. But just to add a little bit more insight about the messenger RNA vaccine, as he said, that technology has actually been around for a while. Around 30 years ago, there was a researcher at the University of Pennsylvania that began working with messenger RNA technology and had the idea to say, hey, there's this technology that we can use, and let's see if we can take a piece of a virus or a piece of a disease and make a vaccine from it by instructing our body, giving us that genetic code, injecting it to us, and making our body make this protein, as Dr. Ruffin just said. So the technology has actually been studied for a very long time, and it was probably in the early 2000s or mid 2000s when they finally figured out how to make that messenger RNA molecule a little bit more stable, so it would last in our body to tell our body what to do to make those proteins that Dr. Ruffin stated. So even though the vaccine seems new, the technology that's being used to make this vaccine is actually pretty old and is very well studied and is safe. And now, as we are seeing with the vaccine, extremely effective. So I can promise you money that we're most likely going to be seeing more vaccines that are using this messenger RNA technology, since they can be produced so quickly. And then also, as you know, there's been all these questions about, well, will the current vaccines work with viral variants that have been talked about on the news? I think that the answer in short is yes. Then just like we have a new flu vaccine every year, I can almost assure you that we're most likely going to have some sort of a new coronavirus vaccine each year too, using this messenger RNA technology or the other technologies that Dr. Ruffin just mentioned, like the live attenuated viruses or the inactivated viruses, which are currently in production. Just happen to be messenger RNA vaccines were approved first before the others that use the traditional technology that we're used to.
Okay, great. And so you're saying that we as a people need to really be prepared to take the COVID-19 vaccine annually?
It's definitely a possibility.
Big possibility.
And when it comes to this vaccine, they're not sure yet how long the immunity lasts.
Oh, wow.
And so
exactly.
You can speculate in about how long it might last, but it's a possibility that maybe there's a new vaccine, every year or every so often.
But right now, that's not what we're being told that yet. Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Oliver. So now a person has completed, like yourself, you've completed the vaccine, and this person has a 4-part question here. It says, what about the mask?
Still wear the mask.
Okay. Yes, still wear them.
Okay.
And I can talk. I'm happy to expand upon why.
Please.
I think there is a misconception that the vaccine cures a person from coronavirus, but what the vaccine does, just like all vaccines, is it stops us from having a symptomatic reaction when we are exposed to COVID-19 or coronavirus. And what that means is, if you get a common cold, you get really, really sick, right? But now, since you've had the vaccine, your body has produced the antibodies toward the coronavirus. If you are infected with coronavirus, you're most likely just not going to get sick. And hopefully the viral load that you may be shedding that could impact other folks, hopefully you're shedding less. However, just because you're vaccinated does not mean you still can't get coronavirus. You just won't become sick, which means you could still give coronavirus to another individual who is not vaccinated. And that's the importance of still continuing to wear the mask and social distancing until we reach the herd immunity that you've heard a lot of people talking about. So that's why you recently, maybe last week, the CDC, I believe her name is the CDC director, Dr. Michelle Walensky, who actually used to work at Mass General where I work. She stated that those who have had the vaccine can now comfortably not be masked when they're inside of a building because those individuals have both had the vaccine. However, if they're around individuals that have not been vaccinated, they should still continue to wear the mask, which is why at the hospital, we continue to wear masks every single day, even though the majority of employees in my institution have been vaccinated. You used a couple of words. I hope I'm hearing it right, and I think they're worth repeating.
One was shedding. Did I hear you say shedding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's happening with the person who has corona, that what you are actually emanating, you're shedding the vaccine. I mean, you're shedding the disease out. And then I think I heard you say until we have the herd, it was herd something.
Herd immunity.
Herd immunity, right. So, which is, I guess in layman's term, I guess when we all have enough of the vaccine in our system that we're not getting each other sick.
Something like that, herd immunity, and the term comes from, think about elephants in the jungle.
Okay.
So if you're a baby elephant and you're surrounded by 20 mama elephants, you're protected from that lion or whoever trying to get you. So the herd protects that one vulnerable person from being attacked or being injured. And when it comes to a virus, when it comes to a vaccine, there's a certain percentage of people you want in the community to be vaccinated to where that virus can't come in the community and set up shop and cause an outbreak. Because so many people enough people have the vaccine, and it's kind of like a barrier to letting it spread. And it's the same thing we see with other diseases and viruses, and that's why there's a concern about the anti-vaccination movement. We're concerned about you might lose that herd immunity that we've experienced for years.
Of that. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I think you answered the question here. It says, can I get infected again? And I think the answer is yes, you could, but you most likely won't get sick. And then, can I be a carrier if I've had the vaccine?
And that's kind of, and he can expand on that as well. That's kind of similar, basically, when you get the vaccine, if you're exposed to it, you might be able to transmit it for a short period of time. You might not be sick. You might not get sick, but you might have enough.
You may not be shedding as much of the vaccine. I mean, as much of the disease to someone else.
Yes, but you still can shed it.
Right.
May not be as toxic.
That's a good way of saying it.
Okay. Another question. What would this be? Would this be a long-term vaccine? And I think you've answered that. We're unsure right now if it's a long-term vaccine. Right now, the jury is still out whether or not you'll have to take this every year. Am I answering that correctly?
That's a good way of saying it, yes. Okay. I mean, you look at, right now, we look at when someone gets COVID, gets sick, we'd say probably within 3 months, it's possible to get, the infection again. Because of the immunity that you get from the virus. And so will the vaccine be the same way? That's up for debate. And I think only time will tell as you start going out months, because it's really been going in as far as January, maybe late December, when we start giving the vaccine. So as time goes on and as they start studying people and seeing, are there some real infections later, people who are vaccinated maybe in January. So time, it's really going to be a kind of watching, wait and see.
Time is still going to be a factor in this. It's safe, it's effective, but little adjustments like that, we're still going to need the time factor to know for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Can babies take the vaccination? Can babies take the vaccine? And then what are the ingredients in the vaccine? Is this something babies can take?
Not right now. I think right now they're starting to, I think the CDC allowing 16 and up, to be able to be vaccinated. So not babies at this point. Now we do know that if mom, was vaccinated or something like that, she could probably pass on immunity to the child. Okay. But there's no recommendations for give children the vaccination at this point. I think it's still about just studying the effectiveness and the safety of it. So I don't want to speculate. I think it probably would be safe at that point, but that's still something that we have to look at in the scientists, and they're studying it to see the effect of it and the safety of it. As far as the ingredients, I'm going to let my colleague gonna go with that one.
I got you, Dr. Ruffin.
In pharmacy, that was a good saying. Yeah, that was a good saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and Pastor, just to expand a little bit on that answer, I think there's not a maybe solid understanding about what all goes into a clinical trial and the different phases that are involved in them. So when when the vaccine was studied, the reason why we know it's protective for at least 2 months is because that's how long the trial was. So just as Dr. Ruffin stated, we learn more about this vaccine and how long it's going to be effective every single day, just because we're having like an active trial. And trial is maybe not the right word, but now we're having a long-term study outside of a clinical trial in the general population to learn how long the vaccine is going to last. So we can dive more into the different phases. But to answer the exact question, I can promise you, I told my mom this, the vaccine does not contain any microchips. No one is tracking you. So we can eliminate that right now. But what is in the vaccine?
Think about that one.
That's what a lot of people, I've been asked that question. So I just wanted to get that out there just in case some people my mom asked me and she was serious when she asked. So I had to tell her no because she saw it on Facebook. But what is actually in the vaccine is, of course, it is the messenger RNA molecule. And that's talking about, the Moderna and the Pfizer. And that's surrounded by fats or lipids. And those fats and lipids allow that messenger RNA molecule to be stable because, as we talked about earlier, that molecule can be fairly unstable, but they found a way to make it more stable that allows it to get into our body and give us that coating to make those proteins. And then other than that, there's some salt, there's some water to keep everything stable and just as it should be before it goes into the body. So to recap, there's the messenger RNA molecule. There's the lipids, the fats that surround the messenger RNA that allows it to get to our body and get to where it needs to go to tell our body to make those proteins. And then there's some simple salt and water.
Great. So since we talked a little bit about babies, so 16 and older, we're recommending it. But secondarily, what are you saying, or what is the CDC saying about vaccinating pregnant women and then breastfeeding women? What are some factors, cautions?
Now, I haven't seen any, and he can help me out, any direct recommendations saying vaccinating pregnant women. And one thing about pregnant women, we never do studies on pregnant women. We don't say, hey, you take this medicine, let's see what happens to the baby. That doesn't happen. So a lot of times it's more of a kind of afterthought. Like say a prescription medicine. Mom's on a prescription, she gets pregnant, we find out the baby did fine. And then we get enough data of moms doing fine on the medication. We say it's presumed safe, but we cannot do a direct study.
Sure.
And so with pregnancy, it's kind of similar. We have moms that maybe had the vaccine, didn't know they were pregnant, or get pregnant. And so far, from what I've seen,
and that's the pool that we have now.
Yeah.
Those who got the vaccine and didn't know they were pregnant.
Yes.
Okay.
And so, but there's not been any recommendation of giving pregnant women the vaccine that I've seen.
So no recommendation but are we saying don't do it because we don't know?
Probably.
Okay.
And that's I haven't seen any direct statement of saying, hey, give pregnant women the vaccine yet.
Okay.
And so it's probably going to be one of those things where you start looking backwards and start seeing, because the baby, that's a protected situation there.
Sure.
And you got to be sure, and there's no room for trying to guesstimate and see what happens.
Okay, Dr. Oliver, your thoughts?
Yeah, Pastor, I completely agree with Dr. Ruffin. And the reason why we can't effectively say that is because in the clinical trial where these vaccines were studied, the trial researchers do their best to represent the general population and all races and all age groups, but there are certain populations where we usually don't test. And as Dr. Ruffin said, that is usually pregnant women and also kids. So you may have seen, and especially neonates, or babies. So you may have seen that they are starting to test this in folks that were younger than 16 to make sure that it is safe and also effective. So it's most likely fine. It's just now we as medical professionals don't have the research in front of us to say that 100% this is okay until the studies are done or until the vaccine has been out long enough that it's out in the general population. And some of those folks that we talked about had a discussion with their provider who said, all right, risk versus benefit. The risks outweigh the benefit or the benefit outweigh the risk in certain situations. Let's give you the vaccine and see how you react. And once we have more information about those populations, we can effectively, with more confidence, say that it is fine in those populations that weren't included in the original trials.
Sure. And so tell us about those who are breastfeeding right now, that population of people.
And probably it'll be similar. As far as there's no studies showing.
Nothing saying run and do it.
Yes. So,
but if you do it, let somebody know.
Yeah, I mean,
because we want the data.
Because I don't think any woman is going to raise her hand and say, "Let's see what happens to my newborn."
Right.
And that's the issue. And that's not how we do medicine. And so a lot of times, like I said earlier, we look back and see, this woman got the vaccine or this woman got the virus, and was the baby okay? Did the baby show antibodies? Things like that.
Okay. Is there any indication that one vaccine is better than the other? And I think I've heard there are three, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer. Is that right?
Yes.
And so is there any indication that one is better than the other?
I think in the trials that maybe show a little bit more efficacy with the Moderna and the Pfizer, but the difference is not something where we're going to be alarmed. I would say get whatever vaccine you can get your hand on. That's what I would say, because they're all showing. And the bottom line, the endpoint that we really care about is there's not a person yet that's been vaccinated that have shown to have significant complications from COVID-19. And that's, hospitalizations and deaths. And that's, to me, that's the better indicator than, say, in the trial. So I would say whatever vaccine you can get a hold of is one you're going to get.
Right. So, and I guess just to repeat the truth that you're saying, out of the millions now, we have millions of people who have been vaccinated, that no one that has been vaccinated has since been hospitalized.
So that's from what I've read the studies, and this has been something that they've been really focusing on.
Okay.
And so, yes, and that is exactly.
Same in Massachusetts there?
Yeah, Pastor, I would clarify that statement in case there's any lawyers in the room that they have not been hospitalized due to COVID-19. They could be hospitalized due to other diseases that they currently have.
Okay,
Yes,
I'll take that. I'll take
Good,
that.
good catch there. I appreciate that. Good catch.
Yeah. And so with that in mind, there's no such thing, there's not one that's a better fit for an age or for a gender or for a race. Just get the one that you can the most quickly get your hands on, because they all are proving to be effective.
Yes, and I would also curtail on what he was saying about, about the lawyer in the joke. I want everyone to make sure that they know that we're not experts. I am not representing a university or an entity. I'm a family doctor who have read and studied and try to give my community what I've learned.
Great.
I don't want this to turn into some kind of more of a expert opinion type thing.
Sure.
But yes,
Absolutely.
to answer your question, yes, I would say definitely get the one that you can get a hold of.
Sure, and we received that from both of them that this is Bible study night, and we have some people, some believers that were blessed up through our community, and because of the prayers of the church have gone off to get their medical degrees and things like that, and they're coming back to from the front lines of medicine to talk to us, and we appreciate that. Definitely appreciate all the hard work you all have done all of these years, and that you would still come back and empower. So we say thank you. This is a good question, Dr. Oliver. How does the vaccine affect people with heart conditions?
That is a great question, Pastor. And I think this falls back into the study design for the vaccine. So as I talked about, the researchers did their best to get people with comorbidities, which mean other diseases like hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol, to include in the study folks of all ages. And with the adverse effects that the researchers presented from the population that was included in the study, there's no cardiovascular or heart-related side effects that I've seen from administration of the vaccine. So if someone is concerned, say, I have just a heart failure or I have high blood pressure, should I be concerned about getting the vaccine? Again, as Dr. Ruffin said, I'm not an expert. I'm just someone that has read a lot and has been informed and have talked to infectious disease providers at my institution. But I'm not representing MGH this time, but I would say that it is safe to get it, but to always have to talk about those concerns with your provider before you do anything, I'm sure. I think the only population that we've expressed some hesitation would be if you have a severe allergy to vaccines in general. With those patients, we recommend being a little bit cautious. That's why usually after you get the vaccine, they'll monitor you for about 10 to 15 minutes just to make sure that you're okay. But to answer your original question, I would say it's completely safe. And I would always recommend if you have overt concerns to talk about them with your provider before moving forward.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think we've answered that. You suggest pregnant women get the vaccine. Okay. What are any possible, or what is the possibility of side effects further down the road, months or a couple of years from now? Possibility of side effects in the coming months or years.
And that's an interesting question. I mean, when it comes to medicine, there's always, the unknown. But as far as vaccines work, you don't see any kind of long-term side effects down the road with vaccines. And yes, it is a different way of doing vaccines. But again, this technology has been around, and the way, especially with the mRNA vaccine, the way it works, your body's not going to continue forever to make these proteins. It's not like an ongoing thing because it can't change your DNA, so it's not going to continue to make these proteins that we talked about that leads to antibodies. Of course, there's always an unknown, and so no one can say never. Right. But from what it appears, there shouldn't be any long-term effects from the vaccine. Now, one thing that I do want to emphasize is that we are seeing long-term effects from COVID-19, and we are seeing people who are having a long, drawn-out, disease process from the vaccine.
Exactly.
The virus itself. So that's one thing that I do want to drive home. We have people who are still on oxygen, months out. People who are having issues with memory and just chronic and other infections and weakness and fatigue. And so those are things
because of COVID.
Yes.
Okay.
Those are things we do know. But as far as, that's why the mention about the heart disease and diabetes, those things are also one of the higher risks conditions for having complications from COVID-19. So that's why, that population, that's why they were at the top of the list when it came to, those levels of stages of giving the vaccine. Sure. Just because of the risk of complications in those age groups, in those groups of people with those certain conditions.
Now, as I'm reading something that's interesting here that this person asked is, and the same track of, but they add 30 or 40 years down the road, any possible side effects, and they example like chicken pox, like people who got the chicken pox vaccination in their childhood develop shingles, possibly develop shingles later in life.
Well, that's actually incorrect. What happens, the people who got chicken pox are the ones who got shingles later in life. So
not the vaccine.
Yes.
Not because of the chicken pox
not because of
inoculation.
Yes. It was more because the actual virus itself and chicken pox and that class of viruses, they don't go away. Okay. And it hides in your nervous system, and it hides in.
And we're not opening the floor to all medical questions either, but that was just interesting.
Yes.
So you get shingles, you have a higher possibility of getting shingles in your latter years if you had chicken pox in your childhood.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Great. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Okay. Great. It wasn't.
It wasn't
the vaccine. It was the fact that you developed chicken pox.
And as we go through life, and as we get older, and our immune system gets a little weakened, then you start seeing the reactivation of the virus come out as shingles. Right. Sometimes as we get older, or certain conditions that compromise our immune system, sometimes we'll see that, and that's a good question. But it's not the vaccine itself.
Okay. And now, is the CDC, they are keeping track of, I guess, the millions of vaccinations that have happened to see, or how are they gathering that information to see how people are doing?
And he can comment on the way they did his, but like when everybody gets... Go ahead, Dr. Waller, he wants to take that one? Or?
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, Pastor, just to let everyone know, with all medications or anything that is being approved from these type of trials, there's always someone watching to make sure, if someone experiences a weird side effect, there's an official process that your pharmacist, your provider, a medical professional can use to report those concerns to the FDA. Then an investigation will happen to say, oh, there's this new side effect that we didn't see during the clinical trial because we can't test the world. We can only test 30 to 40,000 people. Let's make sure that people know that this is an update that we need to make as a potential side effect. as far as the vaccine itself, and Dr. Ruffin can talk about what they did in Oklahoma, but we have a vaccine tracker that after my vaccine, I had to respond to say, what symptoms was I experiencing? Was I having chills, fatigue, any sweats, headache, muscle pain? And that went on for about 2 to 3 weeks. And the information that I was reporting, if I had anything concerning, that would be flagged and escalated, and then I would have to talk to someone.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yes, very similar to Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, they have the vaccine tracker.
Very similar, yes.
Okay. And they would, I guess they send it out by email to those of you all. So it's important then to fill out the information after you get the vaccination.
Yes.
That is just as important. Oh, watch this, for our herd immunity.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he mentioned about tracking vaccines and reactions, and we do that even with our regular vaccines now. I mean, even something as simple as I had a reaction where I got redness in my arm or pain. We report those and track those things, and sometimes it's just a localized reaction to the vaccine itself, but to make sure nothing is going on that's a little more serious about it.
Okay, wonderful. I mean, this has been great. Did we miss anything? I think we had a wide range of questions, but anybody that's here present in the temple, or possibly even those of you who are online, are we seeing any questions there? Oh, we have all those. And anyone else, that things possibly that we hadn't covered that you may have thought of from these great men now that we possibly could ask? We'll even open up the floor, although we did a pretty good job of polling, others about putting questions in advance. Okay, so with that in mind, I guess Dr. Ruffin, tell us. So Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson & Johnson, just kudos, right? Good job.
Yeah, definitely.
Under intense pressure, with people dying, that they rose to the occasion.
Yes, definitely. And we don't know what happened behind closed doors and how many hours they spent to develop these vaccines in such a short notice. And that's something that they know. And you look at people as far as scientists. Sometimes you see them as not of God. Mm-hmm. But if you look at biblically, God gave the people of Israel knowledge about different things, and you look at even the temple and how they would prepare themselves, for worship or going into His presence. So even if someone was unclean, and how, God had given instructions to keep them away, you look at that as being science. Sure. And we as human beings are trying to know, if we can, about of how the universe works, but God ultimately knows what's going on. Absolutely. And so scientists are always just trying to learn more about the natural world and apply it to our lives, and that's kind of what happened with this virus and with the vaccine.
Great. Dr. Oliver, come on, give us some, your closing thoughts, insight, things that have been, you thought, very awarding or pleasing because of the vaccine.
Yeah, Pastor, I think just as Dr. Ruffin said, I think it's really cool to see how much work can get done. Everyone has one singular focus. So for this past year, all the researchers across the entire country have been fixated on what can we do to make a vaccine to curb the spread of this virus and protect human populations in all countries. So I think it truly shows that when we all work together and when we all have a similar belief in a straight trajectory, truly, literally nothing is impossible. So I am very excited to be where we are right now. I hate that this happened. We haven't seen a pandemic in our generation in over almost 100 years. So there have been pandemics that have been in the past, but we have never seen one, and I hate that we had to. But I honestly feel blessed that I was able to get the vaccine. I feel blessed that my mom was able to get the vaccine, because I have comfort, being 2,000 plus miles away, knowing that her, my aunt, my little brother, and all my family and friends back home, wherever they are, have the opportunity to be safe from this vaccine. From the virus. So we don't have to live in fear every single day like we were back when all this was first going on. So honestly, I'm just thankful and humbled and blessed to have the opportunity to speak to you all today and do my best to convey the knowledge I have in a manner that makes sense to everyone that I get the opportunity to talk to.
You did it good. I mean, you all actually made me think of something else right then, just in your closing remarks, because we're not the only people experiencing this on the planet. America is not, that this is everywhere. And is it the same 3 vaccinations all over the world? And if not, are there any other countries that may be seeing better results, if there's such a thing, or worse results? So firstly, is it the same 3
I would
all
say
over the world?
And he can probably answer a lot better than I can, but I would say the FDA in the U.S. as far as approved those 3 vaccines, but I believe there was many vaccines that are that are being in trials that are trying to be get approval. And those 3 are the ones that got the green light, at least here. I'm not sure about other countries. I know that those 3 are used. I'm not sure if those are the predominant ones or the only ones at this point.
Dr. Oliver, you have any insight about that? Are these 3 that are in the U.S. and approved by the FDA, are these the 3 that are being used globally?
Yeah, Pastor, that's actually a really good question. So they are, and to follow up on your previous question, there are other vaccine companies in other countries that are making vaccines. I will say that they are using the same technology that we've talked about, or some of the traditional technology that we talked about, the live virus, the live attenuated or weakened virus, and the inactivated virus. And then there's also some other new novel technologies that some other companies are using. But I do know in the United States, we have a very strong approval process and a research process for these medications and vaccines. So I'm fully confident that if the FDA has blessed these are the ones that they've deemed to be the most safe. But that's not saying that there's going to be a company in Europe or a company in China that makes an awesome vaccine that's shown to have really good results too, that maybe we'll have available to us once the FDA approves it. And one other thing I forgot to state, Pastor, is with vaccines and effectiveness, having a 95% success rate is usually really rare with vaccines. We always take anything above 60% due to that herd immunity that we talked about earlier. So having a 95% approval rating is really exceptional, but honestly, anything above 60% is exceptional as well. So hopefully that curbs the little bit of concern that folks have. Like my mom, she said, I want the good one. I said, they're all good, Mom. Even if it doesn't have that 95% rating that the Moderna vaccine has, anything above 60, or honestly, even above 50 to 55 is completely acceptable within the medical community.
Oh, yeah, you did. I mean, at the beginning of your statement, that was a good point to make. Thank you for that. That usually anything that we're taking, it probably has something just above a 60. It just
correct
passed. But these 3 have all rated very high, and Moderna has a 95. Wow, that is good. That is good. I don't know.
And then,
go ahead.
One more thing to add too, Pastor. I know because Johnson & Johnson, they made up a great point. How they studied the vaccine to see how effective it was, they gave it to the participants that weren't in the placebo group, the group that received nothing. And there was a group that got the vaccine. They just let them live their daily lives and watched them for 2 months and to see if they got the vaccine. Now, if you look back when the trials for the Moderna and Pfizer vaccine those were in early July or August, and then maybe the Johnson & Johnson trial was done when there was more coronavirus out there. So they're saying that's why their percentages aren't as high, is because when theirs was studied, there was more coronavirus out there. So the participants had a higher chance of getting exposed, and social distancing may have been falling off by that time too. So I try to encourage people, don't get caught up in those percentages. As Dr. Ruffin said in the beginning, get whatever vaccine is available to you.
Just celebrate that they're all are historically performing better than anything we've had in the past.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a good point, that anything you've taken in the past didn't come in with an approval rate as high as these have now.
That's right.
Oh, wow. That is good. That does help me. I don't know if anybody else, but that is very good news for me to hear. As I have not gotten the vaccination as of yet, I am on the list, so I'm just waiting for the phone call. I'm waiting for the phone call. I don't know if I'll do call block or anything like that, but I'm waiting for the phone call to be able to go to do it. But this has been helpful. Come on, can we celebrate these men tonight? Come on. Let's celebrate them. Wow, I don't know about you, what a wealth of knowledge to have to flood us on tonight, just to be able to sit down and to hear, hey, these are the beans and bullets, because I didn't even think about, before I didn't have much reason to, but we think about breastfeeding women, children, that is a whole population of people to consider, if you will. So that was great. That was great insight in there, if you would. Thank you so much. If there are any closing statements that you may have, they say get it as quickly as you can.
I think
get
so.
The one closest to you.
Closest to you, fastest, the one that's available.
That's available to you.
And just you're adding to that herd immunity. You're adding to that number of people who can protect someone else. And so those children that we talk about, it is good that their risk of having complications is a lot lower overall. So that's good. But still, you're protecting your children when you get the vaccine.
Oh, so we're adding. That's another thing. That was a good point. We're adding to the herd immunity. When you go do it, you're adding to the herd immunity in that. That's good. You're protecting others with that. So that was 2 walkaway points that I had from there. So thank you very much. Dr. Oliver, you came from so far, all the way from Massachusetts General. You can't say that too many times, We don't really say Massachusetts in our daily talking in this area a whole lot, but you come from so far, and listen, we celebrate you. We thank you for, we get to worship with your brother all the time, and your mother every now and then, and so we are just grateful for that. And then now to meet you again, hear us saying here at the temple, we celebrate you and we thank you.
Thank you all. Such an honor to be here this evening.
Absolutely. You got a shout out. I don't know if you heard that. You got a shout out from the congregation in there. Yeah. And then it was your brother, just in case you thought it was. He's single. All the singles. Sorry. All right. All right, Dr. Oliver, I'm going to leave that alone. Your mother wouldn't mind it, though. She wouldn't mind me saying that part. And then again, come on, let's love on Dr. Larry Ruffin. He is in family medicine here in Choctaw, Oklahoma, and is available and taking on new patients, if you will. So if you don't have a doctor that you are, if you're looking for a doctor, here you go. He'll take care of you. I know several of his patients that I referred to, and nothing but kudos to the care from Dr. Larry Ruffin. All right. Again, from the temple, we celebrate you. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. All right. All those that are here, listen, I know you're disappointed, but we thank you. We thank you for being here on tonight. We thank those of you who joined us even online. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight to discuss some very poignant topics and things very necessary to our existence, necessary to our thriving. And I love that word. I'm going to use it for a couple of weeks, necessary for our herd immunity on tonight. And that's talking about COVID-19, but most of all, how effective the vaccine is. And so although we cannot make you do anything, but again, we wanted to rehearse the pluses for you being vaccinated and keeping your family and most importantly, keeping our worship and our worshipers safe. Listen, until the next time, until Sunday at noon for our noonday worship, grace and peace to you. We'll see you soon. God bless you. Hey, my brother and my sister, God is definitely moving by His Spirit, and He's moving to fulfill His promises that are to you, which is as long as the earth remains, there would be seed time and harvest. The natural thing to do now that you've heard the word and the release of God that is encouraging your heart and your mind and your situation is now time to respond. The details are on the bottom of your screen. You can do Cash App, Givelify, or mail it even here to the church. Feel free to come by. We'd love to see you at the temple. Grace and peace, Temple Nation. I'm Pastor Brian Prince.
And I'm Lady Dominica Prince.
Hey, we want to welcome you to GNBT. We're so delighted to have you be a part of this worship experience. Amen, First Lady?
Yes, Pastor. Today's going to be a life-changing experience that you don't want to miss. So get your devices ready, get your notepads, get your pens, and let's get ready to be uplifted and empowered. Come on, let's go into the service that's already in progress.
We've got to take a moment and thank you for tuning into our broadcast. We hope that you have heard something through the worship of the Word that has enriched and strengthened you for the week and for the times to come. We thank you for just taking the time out of your busy schedule just to gather with us today in worship.
Listen, if this is your first time tuning in with us, we want you to stay connected to the ministry. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, where you can connect and be a part of this great and growing family. Tell a friend, share this message with someone you know. We'd be elated to have you in our next service.
We thank you for taking the time to join us in worship. Let's stay connected, as our mission is to enlarge the name of Christ through preaching and teaching the Word, acts of service, and demonstration of spirit.